Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program Discuss here on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. Many thanks for joining on today's edition of the program. We are going to be having lots of conversations today. We're going to be looking at women's representation. We're going to be looking at the whole electoral reform and the fact that we've seen some protesters coming back to the National Assembly after some verdict has been passed by the Senate President, though we still await to know what the final outcome will be based on the fact that we were told last week by the House of Representatives and Senate that the two houses have organized a committee that would look into the electoral bill before passing it to Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to append his signature on it. But still, some demonstrators still came out yesterday to still demand for real-time electronic transmission of results. Like the moment they're voting, it's being electronically transmitted at real time. That's what Nigerians say they are calling for. On the sidelines, we also saw women coming out to ask for specialized seats and ask the Senate and the National Assembly to pass the bill that has been in their text since 2024. So it has scaled a couple of readings, and they are hoping to see that, they get a swift reaction. And also we saw some concerns which has to do with a woman, a senator who was also in the news yesterday, where she was saying she wouldn't be undermined. But before we get into all of that conversation, let me bring you up to speed with what is currently going on. Today we are looking to examine two democratic reforms shaping Nigeria's political future: the push for real-time electronic transmission of electoral results, and propose to create special seats for women in the National Assembly and State House of Assembly, both seen by many as critical to strengthening transparency, inclusion, and building public trust in our democratic system. In the lead-up to the 2027 general elections, debates have intensified over provision to electronically transmits results in real time from polling units to the national server. A reform, a change for some believe will curb manipulation and reduce post-election disputes. Meanwhile, the special seats for women bill seeks to address the glaring gender gap in Nigeria's legislature, where women hold only a tiny fraction of seats despite making up roughly half the population. Let's take a quick look at a report from one of our correspondents who was on the ground at the National Assembly to give us the real outcome, and he extracted and got us information on the major reasons why women were asking for representation. So let's take a quick look at that report, and afterwards we'll digress and also have more conversation in this light. The protesters, which include women with disabilities, stress that increasing women's representation in governance would strengthen inclusion, improve policy outcomes, and deepen democratic participation across the country. They argue that despite Nigeria's democratic gains, women remain underrepresented in elective offices, and the legislation is needed to correct the systematic imbalance.
Women are dying in the maternity death road. You have 14 houses of assembly that has doesn't even have a single woman. So who is deciding on issues of women?
Election cycle come 2027, where we will see women to be able to go to the polls and to be voted for. And so a word of caution is the timeliness. We are asking them to please look at the timelines, look at the urgency of the bill and the ability to pass this bill in enough time for women to participate, even at the primaries at the political party level.
Speakers at the rally noted that the countries like Rwanda have recorded remarkable progress in women's preliminary representation through affirmative action policies, urging Nigeria to follow similar models. They also appealed to the leadership of the National Assembly of Nigeria to treat the bill as a matter of national urgency.
In every country there is a budget. So I believe the budget will be increased to accommodate more women in the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly.
Nigerian women make almost half of Nigeria's population. We are the ones that give you the vote. We are tired of dancing and singing at campaigns. We want to be part of decision making. if you reserve a...
Addressing the demonstrators on behalf of the leadership of the House of Representatives, spokesperson Honorable Akin Rotimi assured them that the National Assembly remains committed to constitutional reforms that promote inclusiveness. He disclosed that about 40 bills would soon be subjected to electronic voting as part of the ongoing amendments of 1999 Constitution. He urged groups to sustain engagement with lawmakers while assuring them that their demands were receiving attention.
I want you to know that we have heard you, we have listened to you, and this has been reflected in the constitutional amendment bills that are currently before the National Assembly.
As constitutional amendments gather momentum, the push for reserved seats for women is fast becoming the defining test of Nigeria's commitment to inclusive governance. Samuel Odi for Global Television News. Yeah, well, that's it on gender inclusion for women. Now, big questions are being asked. Can technology and gender inclusion together strengthen Nigeria's democracy? That's one of the biggest questions we'll be asking today. Are these reforms achievable, and what are the challenges? We will be looking, those are the major questions we'll be asking on today's edition, and we'll be hoping to get to the root of it. But looking at it now, let's talk about the electoral reform and e-transmission. Nigeria's electoral laws are currently being amended in what is referred to as the Electronic Act 2022 Repeal and Reenact Amendment Bill 2026. A major flashpoint in the reform process has been Clause 60, subsection 3, which would require presiding officers to electronically transmit election results in real time from polling units directly to the INEC results viewing. Earlier in February 2026, this year, obviously, the Senate of Nigeria rejected a proposal to make such transmission mandatory, insisting that existing laws already allows electronic transmissions at INEC's discretion and citing concerns about infrastructure and broadband coverage. Looking at it now, civil society organizations, labor union and legal community have strongly criticized this move, arguing that without the mandatory e-transmission, manual coalition remains vulnerable to manipulation and fuel electoral disputes. Performer groups have also even threatened protest and boycotts, saying public confidence in election is at stake. On that note now, I'll be introducing my guest who will help us have this conversation, someone who has been following all of these matters very closely, starting from last week when we saw the protests starting, and also dragging all through this week, and also standing, having conversation as well around special seats for women. To join me have this conversation is Kristen Paul. Kristen, thank you for joining us on Discuss today.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, all right, let's get right into it. Like, looking at it now and looking at how everything has been evolving so far, Kristen, do you think that joining these two reforms together, that's a seat for women and technology, do you think it can strengthen Nigerian democracy?
Yes, of course it can, and that's why a lot of people are behind it. I was there yesterday at the National Assembly, and I saw a lot of people coming to speak their mind. They wanted women representation. That was the first thing. I saw a lot of women galvanize themselves asking for women representation, which is quite important if you look at East African countries and the kind of growth that's been driven by women. It just brings some kind of balance to representation, not just because they make half the population, but because there needs to be some balance in the representation when it comes to the Senate and the House of Representatives, you know. And these seats are what these women are asking for. They are asking for ability to bring balance to the system, because these men, some of them, they can be reckless, especially with their budgets, with the spending of how they spend our own taxpayers' funds. And these women will actually be able to galvanize themselves and have one voice in that house. So it's very important that representations like that be allowed and put at the front burner, because it will definitely strengthen our democracy. It will definitely strengthen what we, the people, are fighting for, which is balance in representation.
Yes.
Also, talking about the election, when we talk about real-time transmission of electoral results, it is very important that people understand that ambiguity in that law is a loophole in itself. If we are being very transparent, we will know that most areas in Nigeria has 2G network. 2G network is the least you need to transfer figures or upload figures on any server in the world. All right. So
you don't even need the 5G that
you don't need 5G, you don't need 3G, you just need 2Gs, and these are figures, because when you start to snap election papers, it leaves room for high upload size, and it also leaves room for manipulation, which we saw because I voted in Jabi Primary School. I was there and we waited. What they said was they didn't have network. What could we do? Because the provision says that if they don't have network, they can go towards their collation center. So we had to allow them go towards their collation center, only for us to go back to the portal and see different results at the end of the day. So it doesn't allow us to, it brings chaos to the system.
Yes.
The Senate must put it at the front burner that real-time transmission of electoral results is non-negotiable for Nigerians. That's what we are asking for, and that's why we are there. We're also there today to ask for the same thing. Yesterday, while I was there on Democracy Avenue, we could see Nigerians gathered there asking for what, and senators were passing with gun mounted on their vehicles to protect them in the country. You know, and you're wondering why these gunmen are not in Kwara State. Why are they not in the places where we need them the most? Why are they going to be protecting a distinguished,
just
for
last
that
week
matter?
we saw some killings also happening in Benue State and also in Kwara, which is still devastating. We saw the president sending out the vice president to go represent him there and show solidarity with them. But based on those conversations aside, though we all need more in terms of security, in terms of protecting life and properties of Nigerians, we need to see a lot more instead of seeing distinguished senators who are in the city center moving around with escorts carrying guns. But we'll see how well the Minister of Defense is doing in times of curbing all of this. But let's look at this other angle. Are those reforms, I was talking about the seat for women now and technological transmission of electronic election results now, do you think those are achievable, and what are the challenges that you think that can impose all of these bills from being achieved?
Okay, so the challenges might be there, but I think the will of these senators to actually pass this is what we should look at. Do they have the will to do it? Do they understand why they should do it in the first place? If there is no will, we will just keep beating around the points, and women will not get the representation that they deserve. We'll see what's happening with Senator Natasha. Even recently in the news, you know, she's always caught in that spot where these men keep disrespecting her. And she's a distinguished. She got there by election. Some of them got there by selection. We saw the process. So this is a woman representing her constituency. She needs to be protected. And one of the people who will protect her most are other women. You know, so it should be. These are things that they are slow because the representation now is very little. But with other women coming out to speak for this, of course, definitely, they will push it to the front burner. Of course, yesterday when we were there, a House of Representative member came and received our letters. And those letters were actually, he actually said that they were going to work on them and they were going to have a sitting today. So we expect that after their sitting today, they should come out with putting these two things in the front burner to strengthen Nigerians' democracy. It is very important. The balance is important, and the transparency in electoral process is very important. This is something that we should not try to be ambiguous about. This is why we stand with the House's bill, not the Senate's bill. The House's real-time transmission should be made mandatory.
Yes.
And let the Senate stop putting confusion in the matter, because this is confusion at the end of the day. So when the polling unit officer says, I can't upload your result, we are supposed to let them go, there's no transparency in that process anymore. Because if he lives there, there is a lot of time for him. I was at the collation center after the 2023 election, and I saw that no Nigerians were not there. They were only allowing polling unit officer into the center, and they will put the police out there. So what are they doing in there? We should see it reflect. Once we see it reflect on the national portal after voting, we leave the place. We know that that polling unit has been recorded on the national portal. We go home.
What's your reaction to the part where they said, you know, the results, if not being transmitted, it can be taken out? And then do you think a form of illegalities will happen within those time frame? And you mentioned that you need just 2G network to be able to, you know, upload a result. Looking at it now in rural communities, at least we have a minimum of 2G. So what do you think is the major problem why the Senate is stalling? You mentioned that Nigerians are happy with what the House of Representatives are saying. Are you saying the Senate is a major problem why people, individuals are on the street protesting and calling for, agitating for a mandatory
Yes, that is very clear. The Senate is the problem. They are the problem. Akpabio has taken it upon himself, all right, to do the dirty work. And I can see it. That is why people will come out and say a thing, and you will not honor it. And you will try to forcefully, you know, put a clause that is ambiguous in the electoral process, which we don't need. Nigeria, we are too far ahead as a country not to be able to just do simple electoral process. So when we talk about the 2G, what you just need is a connection to a particular reliable server on election day. If there is connection to a particular reliable server, you can upload results from any parts of Nigeria into a particular portal that's already been designed for such. So that's what we are asking for. After the Form EC8A has been completed in the polling unit, we are going to be there, allow them upload it and it reflects, and then everybody goes home. They know that their vote has counted. So when you say that there will be manual collation if network does not work, you are leaving room for a lot of ambiguity.
But we still have situations in the country where we've seen that sometimes network don't get to work. Do you think there will be a different form of network not working on the day of election?
I think with the 2G coverage that we have in 97-98% of Nigeria, that network will work in most polling units, most. And in those places where it will not work, just like how some polling units were disenfranchised in 2023, those polling units should not be counted, and re-election should happen in those places. That's how election is free and fair. That's what I think.
Okay, now let's look at the bill proposed. That's for the women's side. The bill proposed one additional seat for women in the Senate and one in the House of Representatives for each of Nigeria's 36 states and federal capital territory, plus extra seats in state assemblies. If passed, this would bring in 74 women at the federal level and 108 at the state level, significantly expanding women's representation. Currently, women occupy just a tiny portion of the National Assembly, approximately 4 to 5% of the 469 seats. In the 10th Assembly, women hold only about 4 of 109 seats, and 17 out of 360 House seats, placing Nigeria among the lowest in Africa for female preliminary representation. Looking at these numbers now, Kristen, and you mentioned something in your earlier statement where you said that some African countries, women are leading in innovations and also in preliminary. Looking at these numbers now, how disturbing is it for you, for women now in the nearest future, and how do you think this margin can be covered? Just like they said, they're asking for 1 seat, meaning they're not even asking for too much. They're asking for 1 seat. Don't you think that is enough? Do you think that is enough? Do you think women will get enough representation with this amount of seats that they're asking for?
Okay, so I think if we look at what's happening in the eastern part of Africa, we can see Tanzania, Rwanda, and Kenya countries. These countries are actually driving change in their economy through women. They are investing in women. That's the first thing. So they have hubs where women can, get ahead in technology, and these are government-backed kind of hubs. These are the kind of things that when you bring in to your own country, women are given the pedestal to be represented in the tech industry, in politics, in administration, and in other parts of the economy. So you have to really empower women, and that's why we start with asking for those seats, because we know when they increase in number, they will galvanize and push women-related bills.
Do you think the lack of the public, how would I put it now, the lack of more women in the house, do you think that's one of the reasons why Natasha Akpottu is facing what she's facing?
Yes, and also lack of sympathy from some of the men, because if you look at it, some of them have wives at home. If your wife was doing that job, you want to protect her and want her mandate for her people to stand. So when you see these men disrespecting that and pushing her to the wall, or trying to box her, the other day her passport was taken at the airport, you won't do that to any of those male senators. We saw what Adams Oshomole did at the airport. Okay, so this woman is the way she is because she's focused on her job. So let her do her job. So if there are more women, they will stand behind her. We've seen other women in the Senate also stand behind her, and we believe that they should make this a priority so that their representation can be fair.
Okay. There are lots more that we're going to talk about. Let's look at each of the reform advocates, and also, in your view now, Christian, would this mandatory real-time e-transmission improve credibility of elections in Nigeria? Just like this weekend now, we have elections that will be coming up.
Yes.
Meaning this bill is yet to be passed.
Yes.
And from the look of things now, we are going to revert back to the 2022 Electoral Act, right? So if this bill gets passed on or before Saturday's election, how transparent do you think the process will be, looking at what some political godfathers' statements they have made before now? The current FCT minister actually made comments saying that if you're not in the APC, you wouldn't be getting a vote. So what does this mean for opposition parties?
Those are like statements that are that stiffen democracy. Those statements are not supposed to be coming out of the mouth of an appointed official. So I saw it and I said they are not even focusing on the right thing. But in terms of time, there's enough time to do this. There's enough time because the budget is too much not to do it. If you understand what I mean. Yeah. We're talking about a technology here that the Nigerian government can actually buy and own its own server.
Yes.
Without depending on anyone else.
Yes.
You have 1 trillion naira to spend on this election. So I don't see any reason why you would not be able to use that money very well, put the right team together and put a reliable server that Nigerians can see election results in real time. So going by the time frame that we have for the next council elections that are coming up, we see the FCT minister still making that same statement out of the confidence of the last electoral reform. He's making that statement confidently because he knows that they will still try to upload results, and when they upload results, you can change things on that in that way. So it's not something that we the people have confidence in. We don't have any confidence in such kind of process. Why should we be snapping? And when you come and talk about snapping, you see that the camera quality of the beavers is so poor. Is so poor. These are not processes that we should be using. We should just have a portal where the polling unit officer can have a login access to recognize him and his polling unit, and he can upload results after Form EC8A has been concluded. These are you shorten the process by doing this. So this frustrates Nigerians. It actually frustrates us because when we come together and we see ourselves, we want to have a society that reflects our intelligence, and these old men are not as intelligent. They run the country like it's their family business, and they are not accountable. Imagine Wike talking about APC votes in an FCT where he does not even have grounds. He doesn't own here. This is not his hometown. This is not Wike's hometown. So he's here on appointment. Let the will of the people count. That's how they rigmarole around "and," which is a simple conjunction to qualify for FCT as a president. This was in court. Look at legal people were debating simple English. Because they don't want to do the right things. So these are the things that Nigerian people are tired of. We are completely tired of it. We see it as complete recklessness. Even when they feed their children, we see it as you are having mind, you know, to do this because you have not done nothing. You have done nothing. Okay.
You made mention of the budget for INEC to conduct this election. You said the budget is more than enough. You
more than enough.
It's too much. Why do you say so? Because we saw last year, the previous election, over 300 billion naira was given to INEC to conduct an election. Professor Yakub later came out to tell us that the beavers failed. Now, almost 1 trillion naira is what the current INEC chairman is asking for to be able to use and conduct elections. Walk us through why you think this budget is too much.
Why I think it's too much is because the last one failed. If it did not fail, nobody will be talking about that today. The last election was mad, a lot of rigging, a lot of changing of results. Like some result sheets, when you see them, you are disgusted. Like you wonder why you are Nigerian. Because this is not free, it's not fair, it's not credible, there's no credibility in it. So it completely failed. If, for example, there was no anonymity or ambiguity in that law, it will not fail. He will be held accountable. But today he can say, because it's there, that these people, polling unit officers, needed to leave their pools to upload results, and that is where the rigging actually happened. Leaving them is the main problem we have in Nigeria. Leaving those polling unit officers to go is where we have. So there's enough money. We saw the allocation for technology, millions of dollars. $200 million is a lot of money. How much is server? How much is server? You buy server today with a good bandwidth. Nigerians can own its server. It has server companies that have invested here from abroad that it can consult on this issue. So what is the problem? Is it that they can make this call, or is it that they cannot organize this thing? That's why I tell you that some of us can rule this country better than some of these old men. What we can sit down to organize and make free and fair and credible, these old men will not do it because they feed off this old system, all this ambiguity. That's where they feed off.
Do you think they are being power drunk? That's why they are still, you know, there's something one critic said. He said those in power, whenever they leave office, they become almost useless. In his words, he said they become vegetables because they don't get to do a lot of investment and have, monies for themselves after retirement. Do you think power and the control of the massive wealth that Nigeria is embedded with, is blessed with, do you think that's the reason why those sitting in the political positions are doing everything within their power not to vacate their seats for others?
Yes, because these wealths that we have in Nigeria are for the people. Let's not forget that. So that's for the people. We don't have any other country. All right. Or some of us, we love the country enough than some of these leaders. We love the country enough. These people don't show that they love the country. Some of the things they do, it's in the action. Sometimes I look at how money flows or action to know your intention. And when I see what the senators are saying, how we expect them to be leaders for the youth, driving change in what we are doing, investing in what young men are building in town, in cities like this, you don't see them there. So where is your leadership? Where is your power It's not power to us. We don't see that as power. If you have power and it's not affecting the population, the people, the masses, it's not power. You're just power drunk, like you said. So this is why they will keep holding it. We have a lot of minerals, on rare earth minerals. So you see today why a lot of people are asking why another country will come into our country and bring in military people. It's because they have seen that the senators, remember, the senators in the US who are making this possible are young men. Some of them are very young people. And they are holding our own old men accountable because they have no will to solve that insecurity problem, to solve that transparency problem that the Nigerian people are continuously asking for. You can't say you are deaf to it. Inflation in Nigeria since 2023 is something very substantial you cannot overlook. It's not negligible. So when we talk about these things, you know, there's always a twisted narrative. You know, you go there, you debase the GDP. You know, when you debase the GDP, it looks like there's growth in the economy, but there is no micro growth.
So you're saying the growth we are seeing now is artificial?
This is an induced and artificial growth in Nigeria that you're seeing.
Walk us through it.
Okay, so if you go to the United Nations, they have a law that allows you to debase every 10 years. This law, you know, it's used to hide poverty, you know, because of their own agendas as United Nations. It's used to hide poverty because when they debase, your GDP will look like it's growing when actually it did not grow. So if that is what our own president will take advantage of to shove these kind of datas that we know that are not true down our throats, then we should also make them understand that we know these policies that they are taking advantage of. So when you talk about the GDP and the inflation, I am saying that they know where they met fuel. They know where they met food. If they didn't take it lower than that, they should stop campaigning. They should stop campaigning. Nigerians will not listen to all the, you know, forced economics. It's not real. It's not real. And I see it as totally artificial. That's why I will see someone like Wike making statements about politics and voting and how APC will take votes in the FCT over what's happening to people in their homes. How much they are spending on food, movement, the security in the town. Can you imagine that the federal ministry is saying that they only release less than 50 million for us to procure for health for 200 million people?
Over
200 million Nigeria. That statistic is mind-blowing.
But what was originally designated for or allocated to that ministry was over 200 billion.
Yes.
And then just 36 million
was actually released. When you look at this,
which is not up to 10% of the money,
they should stop talking. The senators should stop talking. This alone has said everything in their heart. They don't care about the Nigerian people, and the time is coming where even their children will not be able to speak in a new Nigeria. We know their fathers. They should stop trying to politic into the next generation. It will not work. All right? We are not dull in this country. Like I said, some of us can perform more than these people. We can put ourselves, we can organize things for a better Nigeria more than these people. That's why we are actually saying that any time that Nigeria has a budget, we should look into it. We should not be too... In Kenya, I'm very, very surprised. I have friends in Kenya who look into their national laws. And these are normal citizens. Why? Because they want to know what the government is doing with their money. So you have a lot of tax bill coming up. How is it reflecting the life of an average Nigerian? Look at all the land we have. Are we producing to attract dollar to this country? Are we exporting? Are we refining our cash crop, our rare earth metal? Which one are we turning into a finished goods that's bringing in dollar for us? You see so much unproductive fat men bloated in National Assembly doing nothing. They don't care about import or export. They don't care about the name Nigeria. Okay, they just have political power, and for us, we don't see it as power. We see it as abuse of office. That's what we see it as.
Okay, you know, back to the e-transmission. Some critics have actually said that Nigeria does not have the power infrastructure, the broadband of power infrastructure to be able to transmit election in real time. Do you agree with that?
I do not agree with that. We have Fiber One in this country. We have Glo that actually spends billions on their infrastructure that's actually transcontinental. Okay?
Yeah.
This is one of the major African investment. African Development Bank is included in that.
Yeah.
So why will they tell us there's no broadband to transmit codes, numbers, not pictures, numbers, because that's what it should be.
No video. Yeah.
Not pictures. Okay? Because once you put it as picture, you say the size, you say, okay, you need network. Let it be a portal. 2G will do it. 2G will do the work. So I do not agree with that fact. I think it is targeted at our democracy. You know, they bring these things, they galvanize it, they want to make it ambiguous, and I don't want them to leave any room for rigging, because that's what they want to do.
Okay, let's go on a very quick break. When we return back, we'll still continue this conversation, and we'll be looking at it from another different angle, where we've seen the former governor of Kaduna State, Madam El-Rufai, who got invited to the EFCC yesterday to come answer a couple of questions around his time in office. And we also saw some persons also coming out to say that yes, a movement coming out to say yes, this man should be prosecuted because nobody is above Nigerian law, and some are saying he has a clean slate and he doesn't need to undergo any form of interrogation. We'll be having that conversation just immediately after this break. Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Discourse, and I'm Samuel Odi. I have a guest here with me in the studio, Kristen Paul. We've been having conversations around special seat for women, e-transmission, real-time transmission of electoral results, because that is what, you know, individuals came back yesterday to the National Assembly to protest for, and also, you know, women gathered in their numbers as well to have to call on the Senate to, you know, pass the bill around special seats for women. And yesterday something happened. It actually started last week. Let me refresh your memory, when El-Rufai was trying to go on a trip, and then his passport got seized at the airport, and then it led to the EFCC, Economic and EFCC calling on him to come and answer some questions. Yesterday, he honored the invitation, and we saw a whole lot of individuals gathering, some for him to answer questions, as some were against him, you know, for him to answer all of those questions. But our correspondent, Gomofebe, was there to get us the details of what really transpired at the headquarters of the EFCC yesterday. So let's just have a quick look at what the report says. Then we'll now x-ray and then look at the track record of this former governor and former minister of the FCT.
Arrived. The protesters were, however, divided in their demands, with some demonstrating in support of El-Rufai, while a civil society group, Mega National Movement for Good Governance, called on the Anti-Graft Agency to subject the former Federal Capital Territory Minister to a thorough investigation. Global Television spoke exclusively with EFCC's head of media and publicity, Dele Oyewale, who confirmed that El-Rufai was being interrogated by investigators.
He was invited to offer some clarifications, explanations over some issues. And he honored the invitation and is with our investigators as we are talking.
Oyewale also assured the public that due process and fairness will guide the Commission's handling of the case, stating that the laws of the land are clear on the allegations that have been advanced against El-Rufai.
We told them that yes, the EFCC will do the needful, and we will leave no stone unturned in addressing all of the issues that are peculiar to his invitation by the Commission. So we will do it as we normally do it, and our professional pedigree will be brought to bear, and the nation will eventually know that the Commission is acting in its best interest.
As Nigerians await the outcome of the interrogation, all eyes will once again be on the EFCC. Uyi Agbomofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
Report, and looking at it now, Christian, let me get your reaction. We've seen political leaders who have left office, and then we get to see allegations around them being of mismanagement of funds. We saw that with the former governor of Kogi State, who is Yaya Bello. We saw that happening, and at some point, EFCC were asking to invited him for interview, for questioning and all. Now we are seeing the same thing happen with the former governor and former FCT of the Federal Capital Territory. Now, walk us through your what's your reaction on incidents like this?
Yes.
Political office holders, after leaving office immediately, they get invited. What do you think is behind all of this?
Okay, there are a lot of reactions that I've seen from different people about this topic. And I am actually very, very observant. I just try to observe what kind of balanced idea people have about it. And I can tell you for sure that people think that this is a target, is targeted at El-Rufai for some reasons. Even if his time as governor was not completely free of a lot of conspiracy and things that he actually did, we think that this is anti-democratic in its nature, because obviously there are different coalitions that are rising up to the APC of today, and those coalitions are strengthened by the people who are there, and when the party that's in power decides to go for some members of other parties, it is seen as like trying to stiffen what's going on there, and even try to win cheap political points. And this is what I think a lot of people are saying about the issue.
Okay, looking at those facts now, when a political office holder, this is just a thought, when the political office holder gets out of office after his or her tenure, do you think, and the person has a form of an allegation labeled of mismanagement of funds or terrorism financing, whatever, do you think the person is fit to, do you think it should be embedded in the constitution that whoever political office holder who has run for office and won and served his term, coming out to face allegations like this, do you think the person is also fit to run for office again? Do you think he should be included in the constitution since the constitutional amendment is ongoing? Do you think there should be a clause that said if you're facing any form of terrorism or mismanagement of public funds, he shouldn't run for office, whether being found guilty or not, until the issue is passed?
This is an issue of common sense. Okay, in many countries, if you look at how China is driving their economy, they are driving it with a strict anti-corruption rule. They do not want corrupt officials near public funds and public wealth. And this is for a reason, because when you allow corrupt politicians near public wealth and they lash onto that well, they will not let it go. They will become power drunk because there's no purpose for what they are doing. So this is what we see here in Nigeria. We have someone like Yaya Bello, who actually, after being governor for many years, now wants to be a cabal of state, now wants to put people in office. This is because he was allowed. You know, all those times he was not persecuted, and now today he has joined what they will call the winning team, because now Oshomole has made it very clear to Nigerians that when you are with APC, your sins are forgiven. We will never forget that. We will never forget such statements. You know, so we have seen these politicians try to, you know, protect other thieves, as you would have it, because Yaya Bello, the money that we're talking about here is so much.
80 billion allegedly.
Yes, allegedly 80 billion, and there are still some payments that he made that are very, very fascinating, you know, from government purse with taxpayers' money. And these are things that shouldn't happen in a good and working country. This is why we feel like these people are our enemies. You know, we feel like they are our enemies. So someone like, when you have a terrorism charge on you, this is time that you should be having some form of sober reflection, trying to calculate what you have done in the past, try to calculate how you have really served the people and where you got it wrong. But you see these people confidently running for office in an APC-led government because the government actually protects them. And that's what we think as Nigerians. In our house, when we see this news where these people are granted, people like Yaya Bello is granted ability to leave the country for healthcare, for pilgrimage, whatever he's traveling for, he is allowed to leave the country. So all those healthcare, are they saying that they are not in Nigeria? Are they saying that there are no hospitals that can take care of Yaya Bello? That when he was governor 8 years, he never built anyone he could use? These are very, very simple, common sense questions that when you ask, you know that Nigerians is on its head. It's upside down. And the people who are holding it upside down are the people we need to face, and which are the people in government and in the Senate.
Okay, you know, quickly now, let's go back to this seats, rather before we get into the seats again for women. You know, looking at it now, like you mentioned about the APC, it's a ruling party, and then they are more dominant in Senate and the National Assembly now. How well do you think the opposition has played? How well do you think the opposition can be able to stand? Do you think they can be able to withstand the pressure that will be coming in from other APC members in terms of passing this bill? And if this bill doesn't get passed, what will be the fate of Nigerians and the 2027 election that is a year that is upon us?
Yes, so if the bill doesn't get passed
for mandatory
electronic transmission of results,
as it came from the National
we
Assembly,
will continue to pressure them because we will not have any confidence in such process. That process is already faulty. Just because of you allowed it to go through, it's already faulty. So that's a process we will never be confident on. All right, we will continue to march there so they can see us that we are not happy. I had people who came from other states, you know, just to join us there to say that this is our country, we deserve it. If countries like Ghana, if countries like South Africa, if countries can do this, why can't the giant of Africa do it? Why can't the giant, the supposed giant of Africa, transmit? What do they fear when you have 30 governors? They are all in your parties. They sing your song as if it's some kind of a cult, you know. So, and what do you fear? You should be able to be confident enough to pass electronic transmission without any form of clause attached to it that can be ambiguous. You should be able to do that, and that's why we are asking that things are not clear to us Nigerians. We are not clear why, you know, a party with so much governors and so much people in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, will be scared of passing real-time electronic transmission of results. So we will not have that. We will continue to talk against it are the Nigerian people. I know a lot of people, I belong to a lot of groups that are against what they are trying to do. They should just stand with what the House has already passed. The Senate should stop putting a barricade to democracy. You know, they should allow it flow. The House of Representatives has said this is mandatory, allow it to be mandatory and real time. Okay, so that is it. And also, if they will tell us the truth, if they will tell us the truth, they will themselves the truth. They will see that they are merry-go-rounding. You know, you have a seat a day and then you talk around issues and you don't even get conclusion at the end of the day. And you ask why these men are being paid sitting down there and they cannot pass bills very fast. Do you know at when China was running on its own on all engines of development, they were passing bills daily, and it was being effective in society the next day. Okay, if they tell you today that shipping fee, if your shipping is delayed, the company is supposed to pay you, and that's what they passed this morning. By tomorrow, if any shipping is delayed to your house for home delivery, you will be paid a compensation. So this democracy is too slow. It favors the old. It's not reflective of what Nigeria is today. Look at us, look at our name around the world. You know what we are doing around the world. So these men, they know that they don't reflect what we are. Okay, we are people who want free, fair, credible election, woman representation, and also we need people who are intellectually sound in our Senate. Okay, if you look at what's happening in the three arms of government, you can see that the judiciary itself is bought, is purchasable today. Okay, that incorruptible judge is not real. These judges are corrupt.
Let me ask you this. You know, let's talk about these appointment positions, like the INEC chairman position now is based on appointment, chief judge of the federation based on appointment. What are your takes? Should those positions be an appointment position, or it should be open for voting?
We have always said it that these positions cannot be appointed by the president. It's also the reason why we have been saying that the Minister of Petroleum cannot also be the president. It's not power is not being shared in that way. You have so much power in one person, is not doing anything. It's just global. It's just traveling around the world, going to France, going to Turkey. These things have not reduced the killing. Mind you. Yes. They've not brought the price of food down. So it's just activity. We see it. If it is effective, like how you see Ghana run their economy, you know, they will respect you. Global powers will respect you. When you speak to them, when you write to their ministries, they will respond to you as a country that's driving change. Okay? So when you see all of this, it's little wonder why the Nigerian passport keeps declining in its power and access to other countries in the world. Today we are seen as people who are running away, refugees. And this is because people like Akpabio exist. It's because people like Wike exist. All these men is because people like them exist. They've been able to siphon democracy and put it, because of there is too much poverty in Nigeria, a lot of people become docile. So, but what we are saying is that in an educated city like Abuja, we are not going to keep quiet while these people keep running the country into the ground. Fiscal, so you are trying to tell me that Mr. Peter Obi donated far more than the Federal Ministry of Health to our health, because he was going around to missionary schools, giving them 10 million naira check. Yeah. So are you trying to tell me he cares for Nigeria more than these 108 people that we sit and collect salary for nothing? Bloated people. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that.
That's something. But quickly before we go, Paul, let's look at INEC now and sanitization. If the Senate now say they pass this bill for real-time transmission, what then happens to INEC and the electoral officer? Because what if he says he does not have, he or she, whoever the officer may be at the point, say he doesn't have network?
That's why Mr. Peter Obi said, and I back that word he said, that whoever does not count our votes in 2027 will be counted. You will not be taking, it should be very clear the job of the presiding officer and the job of the I've been a presiding officer when I was in Benin schooling as a student in University of Benin, and when we came into the electoral process, we saw that there are loopholes, you know, in your training even. All right, so it should start from there. Whoever is going to be a presiding officer should know and should be able to know that without transmission of results, he will be putting his life at risk.
All right. Well, looking at it now, I want to say a very big thank you to you for taking our time to join us on today's edition of Discourse, and thank you for all of your input on the matter. I wish we had more time. I have more that we want us to talk about, but this is how much time will permit us to take on today's edition.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our discussion today revealed two reforms that are more than policy tweaks. They are democratic imperative. Real-time electronic transmission of election results could uphold transparency and build public trust in Nigeria's electoral outcome. At the same time, ensuring women participation through special seats address a long-standing inequality that weakens our respective governance. Those reforms will not just happen without political will, but public pressure and national conversation. And that's what we do here on Discuss. We have the conversation, and this is how much time will permit us to take on today's edition of Discuss. My name is Samuel Odi. I'll see you again as we discuss further. Bye for now.